Yeah, like blue.
All right, so yes, we are now live.
We are.
Yes.
Okay, good.
So today, chat with Eric Tucker. Eric is president of YMCA. And so what we want to do is we want to find out how you got there.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so we've only got like about 25 minutes before people zone on us. So I want to start with where you were born and raised, so
Sure.
kind of get an idea of who you were at that point in time. So where were you born and raised?
Well, first of all, Lori, thank you.
Okay.
Love being here with the chamber. This is good stuff. So yeah, Eric Tucker, I was born in Joplin, Missouri, way back in the 70s during the Ford administration. My dad had his first teaching position there, and then we moved back to where their home was, which was in the St. Louis area. Good time there growing up, but then my parents also worked for the Department of Defense. We moved to Europe for a while, and they were teachers with the Dodge school system, so got to spend time living in a German community as well. A lot, really has helped create, a lot of the work that I feel passionate about, and some of the things that we do in the Y. And then from St. Louis on to go to into the Air Force and all that.
Wait.
Well, yeah, I'm going linear.
It's so funny because I'll ask one question and okay, that's the end of my line.
That's right. All right. There's more to come. Okay.
Okay. So, all right, Missouri,
Mhm.
and there until the age of.
I was in Joplin until I was 2, and then we moved back to the St. Louis area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how old were you before you moved to Germany?
So I spent in the little town called Collinsville, Illinois, which is on the east side of St. Louis. I was there kindergarten through 3rd grade. And then when I was in 4th grade, we moved.
Okay. There you go.
There we go.
All right. Do you have siblings?
I do have 2 sisters. Yes, 2 younger sisters.
2 younger sisters. Okay. All right. So from that time period up to high school, what were some of the things that impacted you or stand out in your mind that were like, aha moments that you got now, of course, as a kid?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest was being able to live abroad. And one thing that struck me as a child when I moved into a German community about this a lot in the country. When somebody moves to another country, they don't speak the language, how that can be to assimilate and understand. And I have a lot of respect for people who step out of that comfort zone and do that. The other thing is I had the opportunity when I was younger to go into East Germany and East Berlin. This was all before the wall fell, and see the system in its glory, I guess you want to say. And that was also a great experience for me. I would say that was a time in my life that helped me become more holy. I'd eventually led to my decision to go into the Air Force, which we'll get to.
Yes.
But I realized that at a younger age, I was part of a much larger world, and there were lots of opportunities. And when we moved back to the US, I just felt a little different because of the experience that I had. And at that point, I thought, my life could be cool. It's more than just here. It could be broad and do all kinds of things. So that was influential. And I had an incredibly great upbringing. I have incredible parents. My father is definitely my all-time hero, and he had a huge influence. And it was all about, when we moved over there, taking risks. Me and my 2 younger sisters at that age, you're out of your comfort zone for a while, and taught me a lot about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about that decision and how long were you in?
Yeah. So I think, that experience in Germany, was one that I thought, I've got to go back. I didn't even want to get into college yet. It was like, I just want to go here, travel, and do all these things. So when I went into the Air Force, recruiters are good at this, right? Oh yeah, we'll get you to Europe. Okay, just put it down in your 10 choices, top 8 choices. And so, Germany, Italy, Belgium, UK, blah, blah, blah. And I got my orders in the state of Ohio. I was like, all right. So here we are. That's okay. But the good thing about that was, admittedly, I was not a good student in high school. And the military really helped me in a lot of the traditional just getting out of yourself and becoming part of something bigger also really helped me. And there were a lot of leadership elements that emerged and just the challenges that go with that service and being around other people that care about this nation was pretty incredible too. So I think there's some patriotism that comes with that as well. So that's been influential too.
So when you were before the Air Force, did you have any kind of an idea of what it is that you wanted to do?
Yeah,
Or
I did, and well, there was a time when I thought I might want to be an educator, and then I also, and this is kind of where the YMCA plays into a little bit. I went to a Y camp when I was 5, and I really didn't miss a summer camp experience through my life, even in Germany,
Really?
because MWR, which runs the Recreation Army, the Armed Forces over there, they had a summer camp and those kind of things. And that was also incredibly influential. I was a counselor in training and a leader in training and a director at a young age in Southern Illinois, Camp Onasunk, where my daughter is going to be a staff person for the first time this year. You know, there's something that we talk about a lot in the Y camping too. It's an amazing thing when you put a 16-year-old up, a 17-year-old up on stage, and you get them into, you might be singing a song, but that's also be taking care of kids, the responsibility get at that young of an age, you're taking care of parents, most precious most precious person. And so helped me as well. And so right before the Air Force and even right after, I had opportunities to not only work at that camp, but I went to work at a camp in Colorado, New Hampshire, in the early part of my career, responsible for. So that was pretty neat. So I would say the service, certainly opportunities in summer camp and youth development, having people that really believed in me at a young age and were responsibility and for me was really beneficial.
how long were you in the military?
So I was in the military 2 years active, 6 years reserve. And after I was in Dayton, Ohio, I was at Air Force Base Reserve unit in outside of St. Louis, where I started going to college at so yeah.
You get, what's the first job?
Chat much. I just say I'm regarding me, but oh my gosh, it was right out of college. I decided move to the Northeast. I think I didn't know quite sure. Even kind of looked at maybe the upper Midwest, Southeast, maybe in there. I would flip a coin. Time I came to a somebody in Ohio. I lived in his attic for like a month and tearing up decks for a construction company. And I thought, okay, I need to move on. I need to camp through another friend and ended up in Lawrence, Massachusetts, and had an opportunity to at a school or a summer camp job with the Y. And aside from a little bit of experience as a child with the Y, that was varying levels of, or different organizations for going to camp. And I remember there was a 2,000 difference and the Y was more. And I thought, all right, 26,000, I am ready to run a camp. So that was really, how I got into YMCA.
Really?
And that was, it'll be 24 years ago this November. So basically, right out of college, and the Y helped put me through grad school and all of that too. So it's been an
It
amazing
really
experience.
is in your blood.
It is. It is. It is.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so your journey in the Y, I mean, so you started, what was that position was where?
It was a day camp
Okay.
in Lawrence, Massachusetts.
So how did you progress and get to this area?
Yeah, so my little otter, Captain's Pond in Salem, New Hampshire, 150 kids, and that was a big operation. I was 22 and 23, and being able to put together trips all over the country and get in there and organize such a neat program was pretty incredible. And I was quickly recruited by neighboring Y, which happens a lot. It does in lots of organizations. And I was director of services at the Southern District Y, and that's a town near Exeter, New Hampshire, Portsmouth area. And I was there for 4 years and had the opportunity to grow a day camp and a resident camp and a travel camp program, work with organizations, Rotary Club and Lions. That's when I really started to see the Y as this really neat, advocate for change in the community. And so I was there for 4 years and had an opportunity. My wife was made a job offer in Boise, Idaho, working in a hospital there. So we packed everything up. I called the Y. I said, hey, do you have any jobs? He said, sure. Would you like to be a membership director? I said, all right, let's do it. So moved to Idaho. This is still near my coin flipping day. So I ended up being out there a couple of years. During that time, they promoted me to an associate exec and an executive director. And so at 27, I was running one of the larger Ys in the country. It was this huge city-built YMCA run center and all of that. And it was a fantastic experience. We had our first daughter out in Boise, Idaho, and my wife wanted to get back closer to her family in Boston. And so I took a position as executive director of a conference center in Connecticut, up in Winston, Connecticut, and was there 6 years. Had a great experience. 700-bed facility. We hired over 200 staff, lots of international work. It was really a neat experience. And then my home Y in St. Louis gave me a call. And at the time, I should go back, when I was with the Hartford Y in Connecticut, I was overseeing several Y resident camps and day camps. And so by that point, I was managing several locations. And the St. Louis Y called me up and said, hey, what do you think about a VP of operations position overseeing a large camp and conference center there, but a lot of the traditional branches of the Y movement. So I did that for 3 years before I got a call for a position in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I wanted to be a CEO by 40. I would have moved anywhere. I was like, let's just do this. Great community, loved it. It was a struggling Y at the time, so it was a big challenge going into that, but we did it, turning that around. And that's when I got a call about the Arlington Mansfield area Y, and from some folks that work for our national office, and they said, this is a great YMCA. It's a healthy Y and an awesome community. At the time, adding Mansfield to the association name had just happened because there's so much growth here. They said, Eric, this would be a great opportunity for you to come into an established Y, but really try to work with expanding the Y foot services in the Mansfield. So we moved to Mansfield. I've been here 4 years, live out on Walnut Creek. Absolutely love the community. I've gotten to know folks like Lori, who've been great, who's also now on the Y board, which we love. And so that has been, and I got to tell you, this has in many ways been the most rewarding position that I've had. My daughters go to Mansfield High School. They absolutely love it. I know the school system here is fantastic. The community has been incredibly. I'm on Rotary. Actually, see all those flags in town. That is now my responsibility.
Yes, it is. Hey,
that is a second full-time job, as I tell Dr. Scott from NISD. I've gotten into that. But those are the kind of things that great organizations like the Chamber and the Rotary and others make the community what it is. And so Mansfield's incredible at that.
Okay, so before we get into the Mansfield piece of it, I want to know. What is it about the Y that connects with you like it does?
I have to say, first and foremost, the Y has been around since 1844. I mean, you go way back to London, England. It was a community organization from its start, in that it was a place where George Williams, the founder, invited boys predominantly that were really victims, I guess you could say, of the early industrial revolution. And, these were kids that were living in the street. They were factories. They literally had no place to go, but they were coming in from the rural areas for the jobs. And so he opened up his home. There was a Bible study component to that. And that started this movement, which only, a few years later in 1852, it moved to Boston and moved to Montreal. And it grew into this organization that, today the Y serves 22 million members in the US. We're one of the largest and most identified nonprofits in the world. We're in 120 countries. with Ys in South Africa and Vietnam, get to visit those places and work on that. Those are things that I'm really passionate about. But what's amazing, even though we're in 10,000 communities just in the US too, is that fundamentally the Y has been around that long because we just continually ask a simple question: how can the Y serve the community? And here in the US in particular, we're the largest childcare provider, certainly in the country, in the state of Texas,
Wow.
licensed childcare provider.
Mhm.
We're the largest provider of summer camps, the largest sports system, in the country. We invented all kinds of things as far
Yeah,
as.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So we invented the sports of racquetball, volleyball, basketball, Springfield College. We started Abraham Lincoln was a big part of the Y movement, Gideon's International, Hallmark greeting cards, the Boy Scouts, Father's Day. A lot of these things came out of the YMCA movement. Even some, this whole concept around modern coaching, the NFL, the Y restarted the modern Olympics in St. Louis in 1904, which is where the first basketball game was played. We have a couple Nobel Peace Prize winners within the Y. The International Red Cross was started by the Y. So, it goes on and on. And, these organizations that, have even spurred off have certainly, made our country better.
Mhm.
And, so we've asked that question continually. And here, as I was starting to say, the health and wellness component and all of that, the youth development part, the work that we do with seniors, we're a Medicare and CDC organization. We do all kinds of diabetes prevention, chronic health, and all of those things. But when I go to, no, they don't. They don't. Insurance providers, provide for YMCA programs and services. But when I go to Africa, the Y is the hospice system for the government. They're the healthcare delivery system. They're a YMCA nurse. I get to go into homes and see the Y in action. It's the largest provider of HIV education in the whole continent, of Africa. In some places, it's the only place where girls can go to school, or YMCA schools. And then we're usually the first organization in after natural disasters, after we go into Haiti, typhoons in Southeast Asia, all of that. The Y is usually there. As a matter of fact, right now, the 26 YMCA locations in Ukraine are kids providing all kinds of support there. So what an organization.
Yeah.
And we're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3, and the community, we're owned by the community. The volunteers like yourself hire me to come in and have what I think is probably the best job in the world. And so I get to be part of that question asking, here. And one of the area, especially in Arlington, and it's a community that has been in some ways pretty insular, but has been looking for opportunities to the community. Well, we partner with the YMCA in Saigon, and we build schools over there in rural Vietnam areas. And we've taken that experience and that goodwill, and we brought volunteers from this area and staff, actually, over to Vietnam. We learn about the culture. So when they come back here, there's a common language. And so what you'll see now in our facilities is we've done renovations. You'll see things in 3 languages now. You'll see them in Vietnamese. We offer specifically for that population a lot of things around mental health in particular. And so that's another way that we go about, engaging the community. So it's all kinds of different facets, and we're more partners.
Yes.
Oh, this is a good one. Okay. So, sorry, the lead in, but we've been working with Carmen McMillan in Mansfield. They have the Lindenix Clinic, and they provide healthcare for adults who don't have health insurance, as well as programs for folks that are new to the country or have food insecurity and those kind of things. And we purchased with them a 35,000 foot, what was a call center for a medical billing company out at 78 Regency Parkway. Construction begins, I've been told, next week. There's all kinds of supply chain issues. Getting an HVAC is a work of the Lord right now. But we're going to be opening a new YMCA in Mansfield in partnership with them. It's great. It's going to be serving all the areas in need around there, of course, downtown, South Point, and all of that. And it's going to have a lot of the traditional that we offer, but it's also going to have esports, and it's going to have chronic disease prevention programs and those kind of things. So it's exciting.
I know there's a lot of stuff that's going to be offered out of there. Talk about some of the, because I know that you've got some things in regards to business.
Oh, yeah, sure. I can do that. Let's talk.
Come on.
So, you know, we're also the largest provider of swim lessons in the country. We actually invented it.
Really?
Believe it or not.
Swimming?
Yeah, we had the first, yeah, swimming. Actually, swim lessons. We had the first indoor filtered pool in the world in New York.
Really?
Sorry.
Wow.
I get going here. But yeah, at any rate, so we do partner with other organizations, and businesses are certainly one of those. And so we have companies through our YMCA program called Workplace Wellness. And, you know, there have been all kinds of studies that show that employees that are healthy, moving around, engaging in activities where there's healthy mind, spirit, and body, are more productive and feel better about some of the facilities within their walls, or go to organizations like the Y who can, you know, can help them with those types of health and wellness objectives.
So there's a partnership that you do with businesses for their
absolutely. The workplace wellness, and that can be from Quick Trip to GM. I mean, it just depends on, and we've got nationwide partnerships set up as well. So they're coming for me.
Yeah, they are.
All right.
It never fails.
Never fails.
Okay, so at this facility, tell me what else is going to be offered.
Yeah, so in the first phase, what we're going to have is some additional things you might imagine with the Y, strength training equipment, you know, some of the machines and those kind of things, group exercise space, a lot of senior programmings. We call it active older adults.
Okay.
And that can be anywhere from, you know, the informal. We might as well be a coffee cafe, especially at our Cooper and North branches. Anytime between 7 and 11 o'clock. There's seniors that claim they're coming in to work out, but sometimes we think it's the coffee and just yeah. And so we're going to have programs for the seniors as well. A big cycling studio, a child watch, so and childcare, so parents can drop their kids off when they work out. It's also going to be a parents' night out location. So one of the things is also particularly good for families and for single parents too, is just time away from the kids. And sometimes we don't fully appreciate how isolated some people are. And so as part of our membership, families can drop off their kids at any of our locations on Saturday nights for 5 hours, and it's included.
Really?
We watch the kids and they go out. That's what we call it.
We need to repeat that.
Yes. So we'll have that program in Mansfield.
Yeah.
This program that we're starting in
the
partnership with
esports is interesting because I don't know of a lot, because I didn't know what it was. Explain that for those of us.
You know, I'll be honest. So, you know, we're definitely an organization about activity. I mean, we are. Or indoor working, so on and so forth. And so I think there has been, and I admit certainly on my part, some reluctance to get into that space, because it's you kind of ask yourself the question, are we promoting more of a sedentary lifestyle?
Right.
And what we found is that there's some things that you know, we can take advantage of in a good way when kids come in to be in this program. And that is, you know, if kids are out there in cyberspace and they're on their own and they're playing all these games and stuff. They open themselves up to a lot. And I mean, it can be languages or harassment, it can be all kinds of things. And within the case of esports with the Y, that's in a contained environment. So what we do, core value areas, caring, honesty, respect, and responsibility. And we infuse those into all the programs that we have. And so while we have them in this space and in these pods, that's really what they are, teams of 4 to 6 kids. Yeah, they're playing games, but they're in a safe environment, but they're also going to be doing physical activity, summer camps, and those kind of things. And they're going to be networking socially. You know, I mentioned those seniors and the coffee. They come in for the Y, they do come in for the physical activity, most of them, but they also together. After COVID, when we were starting to come back, the seniors were the first people knocking on our door. We had people come in tears because that had been their space.
Yeah.
And so when you think about those types of spaces and support each other, you know, in the case of these sports, why wouldn't we do it? And so that's the new journey. And that is, if you want to call it a sport in the traditional sense, I don't know. It's the fastest growing, you know, in the country. not only
Wow.
for teens and young adults, but it's for adults into their mid-30s. I think as high as 37 is what I saw. It's fastest growing. So,
Wow.
yeah, and it's been monetized. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of that too. That's not what we're going to be doing in the
Right.
Y, but there's definitely motivation and other ways to do it. So we'll have that. We have some planned phases as well. We want to get through this first phase. One of the things that we're doing in partnership with Mansfield Mission Center out there specifically is there's some English second language classes. We're to do some of those, workforce development, that's what that falls into. Nutrition classes, there's going to be a large kitchen. It's amazing some of the bad habits that we all learn as far as eating and sometimes education way. Some of those run alongside our CDC programs. We have a diabetes prevention program that's incredibly successful, and people on average lose 7 to 8% of their body weight. They adopt some behaviors. We measure them over a year, and we've been doing this now for 10 years. Into their life, and that feeding component is big. Healthy weight in your child is similar. And what we found is that parents will bring their children in because they're struggling with weight loss. They're simultaneously being taught about portion sizes and what to eat and those kind of things. So we'll have those programs. Of course, there's a food pantry that's going to be located out there as well. And there will be elements of what we call in the YMCA social responsibility. That's one of our 3 areas of focus along with youth development, healthy living. And the social responsibility tent includes some of the things that I just mentioned, but also, we give out 90,000 meals a year, to kids in our after school programs or summer camps. We do a lot of blood drives. During COVID, we did a lot of wellness visits with seniors virtually. And so we're in a lot of other spaces as far as trying to meet those community needs. And so a good portion of what we're going to do out there is going to be in that social responsibility area. When you think about a lot of what they're going to be doing is a care. It's people that are dealing with things, they need to see a doctor, and we're on the preventative side. And so when you look at it sort of holistically there, Mansfield's going to get, I wouldn't say it's what we're doing there, but it is unique because of the kind of partnership we have with Mansfield Mission. So it'll be nice.
So you had mentioned community needs assessment.
Yeah.
So what was it that you found in this area?
Yeah, so we do a pretty intensive community assessment every couple of years, and we've actually in our latest report, we've combined some of the pre-COVID data with, can we call it post-COVID, hopefully.
Yeah.
And things have certainly changed. Pre-COVID in this area, certainly isolation for seniors was in there. Non-athletic sports programs for kids was very, very important. Programs for coaching and mentoring teens. General health and wellness things for all age groups and demographics. But what we found post-COVID is the needs around mental health are tremendous. And one of the things that the Y's done during COVID, virtual learning camps, we were helping to support the schools. We continue to do that. And so kids have fallen behind academically, they're struggling with school. And so the Y, has, through the services that we offer, try to help with that. Mental health, some of the things that we tackle around those wellness visits, those virtual visits that we do to try to get people in, because isolation is the primary driver, along with the frustration to school that are certainly prevalent today. And many of the issues that already existed, it could be food security, access to healthcare, those kind of things have been exacerbated by COVID. And so it's incumbent on organizations like us, the Mansfield Mission Center, a whole host of other great community nonprofits that are out there to answer the call. Oftentimes where, government isn't serving, or, the beautiful community-based organization sector. And I'm proud to be part of that here too.
Well, we're going to say goodbye to Facebook.
Okay.
And we're going to
this huge audience.
So let's do that. And then